Okay, so I will say the question, then we'll hear Bernadette, and then I'll repeat. Here we go. So we're looking at Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and specifically the lines, the day before yesterday, we turned clocks back 1 hour, which made it seem like every day will have an extra hour in it, not only of darkness, but of just plain time. So I want to invite us to think about the phrase plain time. What is it? And how do she or any other poets this week help us to think about time newly? How do the poets spend all this new plain time? And where do we go with that?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Moon out and no snow yet, November 1st, the first anniversary of our wedding and the day before Election Day, 1976. Yesterday was Halloween. Next Friday I have an appointment with the dentist. And the following Tuesday is Louis's 32nd birthday. Exactly 1 week after that, Marie will be 11 months old. The day before yesterday we turned the clocks back 1 hour, which made it seem like every day will have an extra hour in it, not only of darkness but of just plain time. The time I used to spend skipping lunch is longer. The time for dinner is too early now. The time for sunset comes too soon. The time between dinner and Marie's bedtime is too long. When it's time to go to bed, there's still a few hours left to read. I'm dreaming twice as much as before. I spend all my new time lying in bed thinking. Last night I saw Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and tonight when I came into my room to go to work, I found an old seed pod on the floor by my desk. In the movie, if you see one of these, it's time to die. It's time to write some letters. Good cold air comes in my window. It wakes me up. We had a bottle of champagne, and Marie went to sleep without crying. It's time to read Fielding's Guide to European Travel and the Alice Toklas Cookbook again. A few books by John McPhee, our new American Heritage Anniversary Dictionary. The Adventures of a Mathematician by Stanislav Ulam, and The Wild Boy of Averone by a behaviorist psychologist about a boy brought up by wolves.
I love hearing your voice, Bernadette.
Miss that voice, don't we?
We do. So just plain time, what is it in her work or any of the New York schools, poets, how does their poetry help us to consider time newly? So let's go first to Kate.
I don't know where to start. I'm so excited about this poem. It seems to me she's contrasting arbitrary human and mechanical containers of time with time's contents. So I believe plain time, she refers more to the contents of time. So it ends with the sort of like granularity or the particular details that are that a day or a particular designation of time contains.
Fabulous. Contrasting containers of time with content. That seems, I'm latching on to that and what you said. That's really helpful. Thank you, Kate. Let's go to Davy.
I wonder if another way to think about plain time is also as a kind of relational mode, that like what makes time plain in the first half of the poem is being able to relate the present to personally significant moments in the near past or future. So we get so many markers of time. The anniversary, the dentist appointment, the 32nd birthday, Marie being 11 months old, the day before Election Day, Halloween, and plain time is maybe a kind of positive space of time, where if darkness is a kind of negative space around time of like, we get this discomfort in the lines following it, that everything's sort of out of whack. The time between dinner and Marie's bedtime is too long. Plain time is maybe just time as it is made sense of by being in relation to other personally meaningful things. So it was like what Sophia was saying about as a kid, knowing time being meaningful because there was a relationship between an external signal, the streetlights coming on, and knowing that it was time to go home. That seems to be in this poem. Bernadette Mayer makes sense of time in a pretty similar way. And the time change seems to like kind of throw that off. It's not possible to put things in relation in the same way. And plain time is relational time, is time that feels meaningful because it's slotted into a network of other ways of marking time in her life.
Fantastic. Yeah, that word relational, it seems so key for this week. And I wonder, you could answer, it could just be thrown out for the general discussion. If there's any other poem that comes to mind this week that word, I mean, it could be so many. Do you want to throw one out, or we can go on?
I mean, for me, the obvious one is February, which is a really different kind of marking time, but it's the like marking whatever it is, like 10 or 15 or 20 minutes in which the woman comes to her window, the light changes in this way. And the way that Skylar's marking time is different. It's much more solitary. It's less about social and familial dynamics and more about environmental and atmospheric dynamics, but it's still about feeling not at sea, not lost in time, by being able to pick out other markers and record time as it shifts and put those markers in dialogue with one another. And I think that he's doing something similar with a really different kind of information.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Davey. Let's go to Allie.
Yeah, I'm particularly struck in this reading of Invasion of the Body Snatchers by Lewis's 32nd birthday, because I'm 32 now. And when I read this poem for the first time, I was 22 max, like probably younger. And I think that just kind of brings home the point of how much time we have spent in this endeavor, spending our time doing what we're doing right now, reading, co-creating, convening over poetry. And I think that's really relevant to how plain time is spent in this poem, because at the end of the day, when kind of like the rush and chaos and obligations of the day are over, it's time to read and, of course, to write this poem. And in the reading and the writing, like within that is an experience of how we can experience time in the most freeing sense, which is a sense of like losing time, losing track of time, being in this almost kind of like time suspended space. And I think, like 12 years have passed while we've all been in this kind of time suspended space. And I think that like the kind of extra hour that daylight savings time creates, I do think that this gives us back more time just being here together doing this.
Wow, ModPo time.